Welcome back to another episode of Franchise Nutrition and Fitness Podcast. My name is Ryan. I'm a registered dietitian.
I'm Matt. I'm a certified health coach and personal trainer.
And together we make up Franchise Nutrition and Fitness. You can find us over at franchisenutritionandfitness.com, where you can sign up for your free meet and greet, or you can send us questions or comments about this podcast and any previous podcasts that you've listened to. If you haven't already shared them with your family and friends, please do so. It helps them and helps us. So that's nice for everybody. And if they listen to it on some platform or preferred podcast on platforms that we're not on, please let us know. So that way we can get on that platform. Otherwise, kind of piggybacking off of our last week's topic on sleep and setting yourself up for sleep density and sleep quality, sometimes those things aren't possible. Like Matt and I fully understand that's kind of how that topic came up today.
Absolutely, and it continues to perpetuate itself. Like it's funny. Like if you watch the video version of this, I see my body language right now. I can see that I'm tired. I see that I'm a little irritated, maybe a little hangry. Not really, because I've eaten, but other shit is making me angry. But no, like I didn't sleep well last night because of sciatica. So like it's something kind of completely out of my control, but affected my sleep. So I may gravitate towards some of the stuff we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, man, sciatica. It's a fun thing that a lot of us that are a little bit older get to experience. But
absolutely,
yeah, we'll talk about that in another podcast. But if you are, I saw a physical therapist quote this the other day, and I was like, that's a good thought. That many more of us should have trained like we were in our 40s when we were in our 20s, instead of being in our 40s trying to train like we're in our 20s. And that goes back to stuff we talked about in previous episodes that, it's healthy activities that can last a lifetime. You got to be mindful of those things.
Absolutely.
But today's topic, so it's what Matt's alluding to, being hangry. If you don't get enough sleep, you're going to be hangry. Now, everybody may have heard the term hungry and angry combined. So now you're hangry. So you're hangry because you're hungry. But oddly enough, somebody had to do a study on it to confirm that it's a real thing.
I know. I love that. Like it's prevalent enough in our society and our culture and then our verbiage that there's an actual research study out there about being hangry. Yeah. With actual real cited sources and everything. It's fantastic.
Yeah. There. So speaking of crazy sources, I would have to go back and find it, but I read it because I thought it was comical and I couldn't believe that somebody got funding for it. But several months ago now, somebody funded a study to confirm that humans are not immortal. Honestly.
Well, damn. All right. Just learned something new today thanks to that research study.
Hey, yeah. But with advances in modern science, I could live to be like 300 or something. So.
I want quality over quantity.
Absolutely. Remember that book, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter?
Of course, and the movie. Yeah.
I didn't watch the movie. I heard that the movie was horrible, and all it took from the book was the title.
It was horrible and amazing all at the same
time. Look, so just to reference the book, it starts out like Abraham Lincoln meets a vampire who's lived for 300 years, and he says that exact same thing. He's like, this isn't all it's cracked up to be. You really don't want to be immortal. It's not good. So, like, well, makes sense. If you did go through all of that, things that he did in that book, you would also not want to be immortal. But real quick, I have the study pulled up. I'm going to mention this real fast. So the study used 64 participants from Central Europe area. They completed a 21-day experience sampling phase in which they reported their hunger, anger, irritability, pleasure, and arousal at 5 time points each day. So that ends up to an equivalent of 9,142 responses throughout a day. And the results of that study indicated that greater levels of self-reported hunger were associated with greater feelings of anger, irritability, and lower pleasure. So if you're hangry, it's not going to be good for you. The The findings remain significant after accounting for participant sex, as in biological, age, body mass index, dietary behaviors, and trait anger. In contrast, associations with arousal were not significant. So if you're hangry, you might still be aroused. I don't know. Um, these results provide evidence that everyday levels of hunger are associated with negative emotionality and supports the notion of being quote unquote hangry. So with that in mind, if you don't sleep well, you're going to be hangry, but other things can make you hangry too. Like if you just don't eat enough.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I don't encounter that a lot personally, because I'm one of those people that I eat like, and if as soon as I feel that hunger a little bit, I make sure there's food on hand. But I definitely find myself around people in personal and professional lives that, yeah, you can definitely tell when they need a little bit of food. And people also understand with me, if they're around me, like, oh, it's been 5 minutes since Matt ate, he probably needs more food. I can tell he's being a little irritable. So
I work in a hospital, and in the area where I call it the business center, it's where all of the professionals are kind of congregated on that floor that we all chart in there and everything, and like have conversations about how to better treat patients. There is a box of like insert random candies. Like somebody bought a bag that has like a variety pack and it just dumps in there. The frequency with which that thing is refilled is like it empties out and is refilled often. And people will bring in various things and they'll always ask like, hey Ryan, do you want one? And usually I don't want one because I'm not hungry all the time because I eat adequate amounts of food. Like it's always, I'll get like right back from lunch, they're like, do you want some of this? I'm like, no, I just ate lunch.
like, no, like, yeah, if I had room in my stomach right now for this delicious sweet junk, absolutely. But no, I satisfied myself 5 minutes ago.
But I mean, there are moments of time where hunger is going to occur to even me, even Matt, especially in times like, let's say that we're trying to cut fat and maintain our muscle mass. You're going to have to be in a calorie deficit in there somewhere. So you might end up being a little bit hungry, but you want to avoid being hangry, right? Which is the point where your hunger has exceeded so much that you are now angry about it because you need some food and you're just becoming more irritable, as we saw, or as we learned in that study that it suggests. So things that we want to think about is the same things that we harp on all the time. You have to have a plan. You have to plan ahead for being hangry. I know it sounds crazy, but you have to anticipate that things aren't going to go perfect and you need to be prepared.
Absolutely. And people always laugh at me, like in the workplace, in a wrestling locker room, I've always got a nice little soft-sided University of Georgia cooler. And so yeah, that's kind of my hangry preparedness kit and my thirst preparedness kit. It's always got everything I could possibly need in it, just in case I do have that lapse in time where I'm not getting properly fed.
Yeah. I remember this is years ago now. I was with my wife, then girlfriend, and some of our other friends that were all in the same field, all in the nutrition field. And we're going on a hike that's like 3 or 4 miles or something. So not like a, I wouldn't say it's a short hike, but it's not like I'm not doing like the Appalachian Trail or something. And it's 30 or 40, it was 30 or 45 minutes away driving distance from where we were. So you had to drive 30 or 45 minutes, and then we were going to hike for 5 miles, and then we're going to drive back. And so I brought protein bars with me.
Yep.
They all thought I was nuts.
And then that's usually though where people are going, hey man, you got one of those protein bars left? Like
Right, exactly. They're like, hey, I'm kind of hungry. I'm like, glad I got this protein bar. So, to avoid getting hangry. But there's a priest, his name is Father Mike Schmitz. He talks about your life and all those things. One of the things he always says is be patient with yourself and be ruthless with your environment. meaning you need to be prepared at all times for whatever you're trying to do, but be patient with yourself because there's going to be times when it's going to be hard and you're going to trip up and you're going to fail. Like if you work in a building that has a vending machine and you get hangry and you can't go get anywhere, but you can get to that vending machine, what do you do?
Yeah, see that's a good one. Like for me personally, I stand there and I try to find what I think is number one going to satisfy me. Because I think it's very easy to go, well, yeah, I'm going to make the healthy option. But what really sucks when you do that, you grab the healthiest option and you're like, well, I still really want that candy bar. Like that didn't satisfy it. So I
Yeah,
try to find that. I
baked
find
bag
it
of chips.
exactly. I'm like, okay, like yeah, I just took 100 calories in a baked Lay's. Like that sucked. I still want that Snickers bar. So I try to find where those two things intersect, where it's like the healthiest option meets something's actually going to satisfy me. And oftentimes I find that it's not the one extreme or the other. It's not that bag of chips, but it's also not bag of baked chips, or it's not that Snickers bar. There's something in there in between. How about you?
Yeah, so the same thing. Like I have uh fruits and vegetables every day. Talk about it all the time. Um, but I also have a jar of peanut butter at my desk for the hangry time. The trick is being mindful about how much peanut butter I'm
Right.
consuming in the hangry time.
Because it's very easy to take in 2,000 calories worth of peanut butter in that,
Oh yeah,
in that
yeah.
sitting.
So you have to be mindful of those things. And so this is a practice learned thing, right? So over time, I've had a jar of peanut butter at the desk that I sit at since 2013. Like since I started in an acute care setting, there's always been a jar of peanut butter at the desk where I have to work from, or in my lunchbox. Literally, I just carried around a jar of peanut butter all the time, and that's unique to like me. But if I was working with a client or we're talking to a client, one of the things I always recommend is you want to get something that has protein in it. Protein has a greater satiating effect, kind of like the reference of the baked Lays earlier. So no offense, Lays, I do love your chips, but you don't really provide anything that's really satiating. It's just like designed to make you buy more chips. But
you can't just eat just one. It's right. It's right there in the slogan.
if you have a can of chips, like the most popular canned chip out there, you're going to eat the whole tube. All right. That's why they started making smaller tubes because you're just eating the whole thing anyways. But they're just going to buy more tubes. I don't know. I'm not talking about Kenny Powers and Swiss tubes, but this is a different kind of tube.
Yeah, the protein, yeah, it's what I typically go for. I've got two kind of go-tos that are already always in my bag that I carry around. So it's always a Quest bar, because for me, like that will satisfy my sweet craving. If I want, like I get the chocolate chip cookie dough ones. It's chewy, it's sweet, it's got what, like 20 grams of protein in it. Boom, it kind of satisfies that. Hey, I need something sweet. If I'm going more towards for something savory, I always have a couple of pouches of tuna and then hot sauce. So like little packets of hot sauce, boom, stick the hot sauce in the packet of tuna. It's that savory, it's salty, savory, and again, nice protein with that.
Definitely salty with the hot sauce and the chip.
Exactly right. I have way too much sodium.
Well, if you're working out a lot, like you might need actually the sodium. Like if you're a big sweater, you're gonna lose. If you sweat a lot, you're gonna lose a lot of sodium. It also can help with muscle damage. But otherwise, that's a different topic for a different time. But I do like your tuna packet thing, the Quest bar. But I don't have anything against them as a supplement. Personally, for me, like I can't handle some of those Quest bars. They have like a lot of sugar, alcohol, and some of them certain
A
flavors.
lot of sugar, alcohol, a lot of fiber. So
Yeah, like, it's uncomfortable for me, like physically uncomfortable. The taste is delicious, but it's the after effect.
I love like the friends I have. They're like, hey, 4 Quest bars today. I'm like, how the hell did you do that? Like, I have one, and I'm like, okay, like there's a little bit of an issue there. Like,
People that have like the 0 calorie, like sports beverages and things like that, but that have like lots of sugar alcohols in it.
right.
I drink like 4 of these. I'm like, one, I'm surprised you're not like ping ponging off the walls and then crashing out. But two, like, do you spend a lot of time in the bathroom? That's such an excessive amount of like liquid sugar alcohol. It's like going straight through you. Um, but If I walked by, there's a vending machine literally as I'm walking out of work. They have peanut butter crackers in there. That is my like go-to vending machine snack if I am like super hungry and I have to get something out of a vending machine. It doesn't matter what kind of peanut butter cracker it is, but specifically the peanut butter cracker. It's like one of the most common vending machine items.
So you're fine. You're fine if it's the cheese cracker. You're fine if it's the wheat one, just as long as it's got I got that peanut butter. All right.
Right. Because if I can read the facts label on those things, right? So I can't see like, well, which one has the most protein of serving in there. But the everything that's in there that I've ever seen is just a bunch of like mostly carbs kind of stuff. And if you are hangry and you eat a bunch of carbs, once that gets like through your like stomach, like you've gone past like 45 minutes and it's made out of your stomach, you're going to be hangry again. And then that's where people, I think, have the greatest downfall is that they just keep eating to try and resolve their hangriness. But you're not going to get there until you actually have like a whole meal or you go back to bed.
Right. Yeah, you're constantly kind of chasing that sleep and tired dragon. Yeah.
Yeah. And like coffee is not the solution. That doesn't help you resolve your hangriness. Energy drinks doesn't help resolve your hangriness. Like you need actual food, actual sustenance. And like I said, protein, low calorie, that's going to be there. It's got a high thermic effect of the food. So that helps you keep you satiated, helps you feel fuller longer, helps you burn off some extra calories while your body's processing it. So overall, and it just like the digestion of protein is slower than carbohydrates, especially those like simple carbohydrates. And so that's going to help you resolve your hangriness faster. So at least you can maybe bridge the gap until you're able to get to a meal. If I had to go quick, I would do that. I always have peanut butter. Be ruthless with your environment. Have something on hand, like a protein bar, like Matt suggested. Packets of tuna, I love that. If you have access to a refrigerator, have Greek yogurt available for you. That's a high protein, typically low calorie option. And the fruit, you'll hear people say, "Oh, have a fruit at your desk." That doesn't work. I hate to tell you, I'm not like if I'm hangry. It's like an apple is not going to help me out. I'm going to need the apple plus the peanut butter. So I'm not going to just have the peanut butter in there. So, yeah, the overall, I know it's a short episode, but that's kind of all we were aiming to talk about. Because if you, like we referenced in last week, if you don't get that adequate sleep, you're more likely to be hangry. You're going to be irritable. I don't want you to be irritable. You don't want to be irritable. People around you don't want you to be irritable. So
definitely, I think that's the most important part. People don't want to deal with you just being an ass. So,
so make a plan ahead. If you have a hard time thinking up a plan and coming up with a smart goal for yourself, visit us over at franchisenutritionandfitness.com. Sign up for your free meet and greet. Get started today. So that way we can work together and come up with the best plan that fits you in your life so you can avoid being hangry and get the highest quality sleep that you need. Otherwise, if you have any questions or comments, you can also do that at franchisenutritionandfitness.com or any social media site. Send us some questions, send us some comments. We're happy to answer them and we'll mention them in a future podcast. So share this with your friends. And remember, every day, maximize every bite, maximize every rep.